Okay.
Hello. So before I start, I want to ask, who in this room directly supervises people? Okay, so a couple of us. So when we were talking about motivation during class, one thing that I was thinking of, that even though I do have employees that I directly supervise, that we can still use a lot of the motivational discussion that we talked about in how can we motivate our coworkers as well, and therefore make a better environment for us to work in. And so today in my presentation, what I want to try and persuade you is that if you take the time to try and motivate your coworkers as well as your possible employees, that it can not only better your company as a whole, it can look better to your employers, and it can help your coworkers, and it can benefit you. And so it's a good thing to do. And so some ways that it actually benefits your company is obviously that motivated workers are not only going to work harder, they're going to work better. And so coming to work as a motivated individual, you're going to put more time and more attention on your projects, and that's going to make your projects better, which is going to help the customer base for your company, and all in all, it's going to make a better quality product or service that you're providing, which is in turn great for your company. And so if those things happen, then a lot of benefits are going to come to you as the individual who's trying to help motivate your peers and your coworkers. One, if your quality product or your quality service is getting better and better, and your customer base is increasing and you're making more profits, then your company is going to have more money to spend, and then they'll have more money to use on employee benefits or promotions and things of that nature, and so that money can come directly back to you. Also, obviously, if you have a lot of motivated individuals, you're going to have a better work environment. And so people are going to be excited to come into work, and that's going to help you be excited, and it's going to just create that atmosphere that you really enjoy working in. And so we've all had, at least I have, had peers who are just not the most motivated individuals. You know, they come to work and you know they're not happy to be there, they don't want to do anything, you ask them to help you with a project and it's a week later and they've done nothing. And so it can be very frustrating and very disheartening. And so if you help your peers and coworkers be motivated, that can take that frustration out of your own life at work. And so if you are taking on this adventure of trying to motivate your fellow peers, that's also going to help improve yourself. Because if you're trying to motivate others, obviously you need to be motivated yourself, because no one's going to follow you if you aren't showing that same motivation, dedication in yourself. And so now you're asking, Carrie, how can I do this? How can I motivate my fellow workers? And so obviously we study Herzberg's satisfiers and dissatisfiers in class. And so a lot of these, since you are not their supervisor, you can't really work with. And so we're going to cross those off already. So that leaves us with 5 areas that we can sort of look into. And so obviously, as Herzberg stated, the bottom areas, your interpersonal relations and the work conditions, are not things that are going to motivate your peers, but they're things that if they're absent, then they're going to be a loss, and they're not going to like their profession as much. And so the first thing you want to do is you just want to take a good look sort of around your workplace and at your peers and see if these things are already met. And so do you have good work conditions, and do you have good interpersonal relationships in the office? You know, are people friendly with each other? Are people cordial and nice? Then okay, you can move on past that. If not, you need to start looking at how can you better that. You know, if you start saying hi to people, you know, simple things like that can start the ball rolling. So if you do get to move past that, then you can really start looking at the achievement and the recognition and the status areas. And so obviously you can't necessarily promote your peer or do anything like that, but you can do the simple thing of just saying, hey, you know, you did a really good job on that project. I was really impressed. And something that small seems like insignificant to you, but to your peer, that might mean the world, because someone noticed. Someone took the time to actually see that they put hard work in and that they're trying their best, and they'll appreciate that. And so there's some different areas that you can try and improve in yourself to help motivate your coworkers. And so first, as we talked about, is the interpersonal relationships. And so building those formal and informal relationships with your peers. And so that doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but it just means that you need to be at a good communicating and talking basis so that they feel comfortable coming to you and that they can lean on you when needed and you can lean on them. And so then you want to think of sort of the team dynamic. And so if you really want to motivate your peers and motivate yourself to better your workforce, you need to start thinking in this sort of team mindset versus the I mindset. And so when you're talking to your supervisors or when you're talking to your teammates, then you want to use the we instead of I, and you want to take recognition for the group. And so if you all worked on something, make sure you aren't taking it for yourself, that you're saying like, hey, we all did a really great job, and I couldn't have done it without you, and I really appreciate your efforts. And so as we are working on either team projects or individual projects, we want to make sure to start asking our peers for advice and input of what they have to offer. Because if you're asking them, then they're going to have faith that you trust in them and that you support their decisions and their input, and that can help give them confidence in their own work. And so on the same side, you want to listen if they need that advice or if they need that input, and if they have those questions to see if their project is going as smoothly as they hope it is, and so you can give that advice to them. And so there's always that underlying encouragement, of if they do come and ask you for advice, that, even if you have constructive advice to give, that you're also encouraging them and you're also showing them that you see how hard they've worked on their project so far and you're looking forward to seeing all the great work that they're going to continue to do and things like that. And as always, you need to model this behavior. So if you want everyone around you to be motivated so that your whole company can prosper, then you need to be motivated. And so it's very important. And so there are a couple things you want to be careful of if you decide to start helping and motivate your peers and your coworkers. One is that you do want to be sincere about it, because if, especially for people who are not used to giving praise, it's not in their nature to come up and say, hey, you did a really good job today, then, it's going to come off insincere and it's going to come off awkward. And so just practice, like go up to your family members and your friends and just let them know that you think the dinner they made that night was just wonderful or whatever, so that when you do it to your coworkers, it actually comes off as sincere. Because if it doesn't, then one, they're not going to believe you, and two, they're going to be like, why are you awkwardly complimenting me? Because it just seems weird. And so you want to make sure to avoid that. Second is, you are not trying to be their supervisor. You're not trying to be their boss. You're just trying to be supportive and be a friend and be, a peer that they can look to and you can look to them. And so make sure that as you start to build those relationships and help motivate your peers, that you're not sort of stepping into that role as a supervisor. And so things to make sure of are, one, if they do start to come to you and ask you questions that are definitely questions the supervisors should be answering, to send them that way and to really encourage them, like, hey, our supervisor is a really nice person, or hey, they're not that nice a person, here's a great way to ask, and so that you can make sure you're not stepping on any toes, and two, that you're not giving any advice that your supervisor would disapprove of. And so you just want to be careful in those areas. And so all in all, I think that helping to motivate your coworkers and your peers is really important, because it really benefits your entire work environment, which will help your company, it'll help your coworkers, and it'll help yourself. And it can help you become that positive leader in your team, and so that your employers can see, one, not only are you dedicated to the company, but you're dedicated to being a leader, and so they, if a promotion option comes open, they might consider you, and if anything else, you can put a good reference on your resume as someone who really took part in the company and tried to do well by it. And so, are there any questions? questions.